Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 6. In Module 6 you are writing your first essay for the class, and this essay will be related to short fiction. And so this is kind of the end of our fiction units, and then the next the next module, we'll start talking about poetry. So we are kind of finishing this one genre and we're moving on. And at the end of each genre, you'll actually be completing some kind of writing or project. So this is kind of the pattern that we'll be going through. So this module is about the fiction analysis essay. So our first essay is centered on fiction, and we're going to be doing what's called an analysis essay, which is, if you're familiar with analysis, you've probably used it before. Analysis is where you break down something into its different parts in order to understand what's going on. So I've got a couple of things for you. The reading, you have read about writing about literature already, but there's a specific example of analysis here, and I also have a website here that you can use. The essay itself is asking you to take one short story. It does not matter if it is a story that you were assigned to read or not. However, it does need to come from the textbook. So you cannot just find a short story out there on the internet, because there are a lot of stories out there and not all of them are ones that ought to be used for any kind of analysis. So we're focusing on what's been published in the book. So there's a lot of options. So I would just kind of pick your favorite, or one that you enjoyed reading, or one that you feel like would be pretty easy for you to break down into different parts. So the main thing that you have to remember is that when you do an analysis, you're trying to analyze surrounding a focal point. And so you want a specific aspect of the story to kind of focus your analysis on. So that might be the main character. So like, for example, in The Necklace, we have this main character, Matilda, and she goes through this change throughout the story, from being a little bit naive and just really desiring a better life and kind of sort of living with her head in the clouds, I guess. And then she almost accomplishes that, right? She goes to this party and she has on this beautiful necklace, and she's very popular, and she gets to dance with all these people. And so she's starting to get that taste of that kind of lifestyle that she feels she deserves. And then, of course, she loses the necklace. They go into poverty. By the end of the story, she has completely changed. Like, her physical demeanor's completely changed because they've had to work so hard, and so her entire life has changed as a result. So you can see that arc of her character and then analyze the story based on that. So that would be kind of your, the way you would put together your analysis. So once you've decided on your story and then the aspect of the story that you want to cover, a lot of times students have difficulty with this because they want to cover more than one thing. So they want to do character and setting and, and whatever. So you want to pick just one thing. If you're having trouble with that, you may decide, I would suggest using theme, because theme often is shown through things like characters, settings, symbol, etc. So you can use that theme as your overall discussion or element that you are focusing your analysis on, and then everything else will kind of fall beyond that. You want at least 3 body paragraphs, so like 3 ways that aspect is shown within the story. And so you're breaking it down and discussing how that helps show your thesis and show your kind of overall analysis. What do you think that means, basically, is the question. So why would the author choose to write it like that? You want to make sure that you're using those critical reading and analysis strategies. Do not just give me the plot of the story. That is the major issue that students have with this one. Probably the biggest mistake is just giving me a summary of what happens in the story. You're not retelling the plot, you are analyzing the story. And then first person, you don't want to include that in the essay. You are not in the story and the reader is not in the story. That would be second person. Instead, you want to focus on like third person pronouns, basically talking about the characters, the author, that kind of thing. So the essay itself is not very long. 5-paragraph essay is fairly standard. Most students get 2 pages out of it. You're not thinking really long like a research essay, but it's not going to be, you know, just a couple of paragraphs. So the first thing that you're going to do is this assignment is asking you for pre and post writing. So we're going to do 2 essays in this class, and you'll do the same thing for both of them. You need to demonstrate some kind of pre-writing, and you also need to demonstrate some kind of post-writing. The pre-writing is where you can choose one of these methods. These are pretty standard. Those of you, you should have taken Comp 1 already or be currently enrolled in it in order to be in this class. So you should be familiar with these 3 pre-writing examples: free writing, outlining, or clustering. You can turn the pre-writing and post-writing in separately if you want. And so if you turn in that pre-writing right away during the week, I can look at it and give you some feedback based on whether or not your ideas will work. Outline is probably the most helpful, but you can use any of the 3. So I have these examples that I created, and I use the Mask of the Red Death since that one is not a story in our textbook. So that way you can kind of see how it works without me like giving you answers to one of the stories. But this is what a free write might look like. This is what a cluster map might look like. And then I wrote it out all the way into an outline with a working thesis. The outline is probably the most useful for feedback purposes, but it's kind of hard to just drop in an outline without having done any kind of, you know, brainstorming. If you want to do all 3, this did not take me very long. I took maybe 30 minutes to come up with all 3. I would highly recommend it just because it will get you to the point where you're a lot more ready to create that draft. So those are just some ideas for you. And then the post writing is something a little bit different that you may have never have done before, but the post writing is a reflection on your essay and what you learned from writing it. You can either write this as a letter to me as the instructor, or you can just kind of write a reflection itself, which, I mean, they're kind of similar. Or if you don't like writing, you're done writing, you want to do anything else, you could also just create a video for me if you want. But anything that is kind of going over, you know, what did you like about your essay? How do you feel about it? Are you confident with what you wrote? That kind of thing. And I will create examples for at least these 2 here, and then post that here and some more tips and stuff. I'm not quite done with all the examples, but by the time you actually get to see this module, I'll have all of that ready. So once you are ready, you've done the pre-writing, you're ready to write the essay, sit down and draft it, use the online writing lab. We do not have a peer edit for this one. So using the online writing lab, use friends, family members to look it over, make sure that you edit it yourself, all of that. Works cited example, you need 1 works cited entry, and that will be the work itself. And so you want to make sure that you can just copy and paste this if you want to, and then change, you know, obviously author, title, page number, but that needs to be on there. And then this is just an overview of documentation usage. You do not need, since you're just using the 1 story and it's on the same page, for the textbook, I think that all the stories just have like the 1 page since it's an ebook. You do not need any in-text documentation necessarily. So if you put a quote in there, obviously you can just put a quote in there and just tell us, you know, give us some context for the quote. Otherwise, you don't need like the stuff in the parentheses. You don't really need that throughout the essay, because the main thing is having that works cited entry, and it's all on the same page by the same author anyway. This is just information about using the online writing lab. If you're interested, I highly recommend it, but you do have to have it done earlier in the week so they have enough time to look at it. And then this is the spot to turn in the essay, and then just kind of basic formatting criteria. Make sure you double check the criteria of the essay. And then this is how it will be graded. So, you know, 80 points total. And so combined with the pre and post writing, the whole thing is worth 100 points. So that just kind of keep that in mind, that's a full letter grade, is each of the essays will be like that. So you can kind of see how your grade is broken down, what's most important, and that kind of thing. And that's where you'll submit. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Feel free to email me a copy of your essay. If you're confused, you're not sure what you're doing right, if you're doing it right, email me a copy of your outline. Turn that in early. Lots of options for you. Otherwise, have a great week.